Yeah, the Friday edition of Mr. Irrelevant, presented by Door County Distillery, with you right here on the ESPN Madison, ESPN Block YouTube channels, the ESPN Madison Facebook page, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Gruber Law Offices, One Call That's All Studios at the Avenue in beautiful downtown Milwaukee. Producer Tiny Hands, Hunter Wohler, running the show per usual at the Everlight Solar Studio in beautiful downtown Madison. I'm off today, so I'm coming to you about 18 hours ahead of time. I'm recording this Thursday night about 7 o'clock Central Time. So good news for you is if all you've done this week is listen to speculation and the dramatics and the theatrics around Jordan Love's impending contract extension with the Green Bay Packers, I'm not even going to touch it today, because by the time you hear or watch this, we might already have a contract extension in the bag, or maybe it's just going to roll into the weekend. Nonetheless, I'm not going to talk about that today. I had a great week, man. We started it off Monday's edition of Mr. Irrelevant up at the Tundra Trio in Green Bay for day one of Packers training camp. Lots of reaction as that's the news, the day the news dropped about Jordan Love not practicing until he gets a contract extension. So really fun day Monday. Wednesday, we were in Indianapolis for Big Ten Media Days. Amon Green, the Packers' all-time leading rusher, joined us. If you missed any of that conversation, you got to go listen to it. Amon was great, talking about Jordan Love, telling some stories from his time in the NFL, and even a tidbit of him calling the Madden video game ratings adjuster because his speed wasn't high enough. Great story. Can't miss that from Amon Green, the Packers' all-time leading rusher. But Tuesday, I was also in Indianapolis. I caught up with a bunch of Badgers, people affiliated with Wisconsin. Want to air two conversations for you today. One with the athletic director of Wisconsin, who was extended yesterday. Chris McIntosh extended 5 years as the athletic director of Wisconsin. So apparently you talked to me, good things happen to you. I don't know. Maybe I'll take credit on that one. So I want you to hear the conversation I had with Chris McIntosh. We talked the explosion of women's sports and how Wisconsin is capitalizing on that. We talked about facility upgrades, which is something he's put an emphasis on since taking over for Barry Alvarez as the athletic director at UW. And, of course, we talked Luke Fickell, year 2 for the Wisconsin football program, and Chris McIntosh, pretty good Wisconsin football player back in the day, the former first-round pick. So he weighed in on a ton of stuff around the football program. Also want to play for you the conversation I had with Badger star safety Hunter Wohler as the college football season approaches. Wohler coming off of a first-team All-Big Ten selection last year, but ready for more. The future NFL draft pick sat down with me for about 10 minutes just to talk about year 2, the comfortability in Luke Fickell and Mike Tressel's defense at Wisconsin, and a ton more. We talked water skiing. He's actually throwing at the first pitch of the Brewers game tonight. So you can hear if he has nerves or not. I'll save that for the conversation. That's all still ahead, but first, Wisconsin Athletic Director Chris McIntosh joins me now right here on Mr. Irrelevant. Excited to be joined now by the athletic director of the University of Wisconsin, Chris McIntosh. Joins me now in the new home of Badgers volleyball here, 100.5 ESPN. Chris, I don't know if we've ever gotten an official statement from you on the radio about our new partnership, which is really exciting starting this fall.
Well, yeah, the feeling is mutual. We are excited about it. I think it's a unique way to showcase not just Badger volleyball and to bring it to fans, but also to advance the game of volleyball, the sport of volleyball, which is really important to us. It's really important to our coach, Kelly Sheffield, and Wisconsin volleyball in the Madison area is growing. It's exploding, and I think our partnership together is a way to continue to build on that.
Absolutely, and the explosion of women's sports over the last half decade has been fascinating to watch, and Kelly is such a big part of that in his advocacy. How important is having a guy like that in the role he is in for the university and for women's sports overall?
Well, I think it's special. I mean, Kelly is a special person. I think it would be really easy for a coach in the position that Kelly is in to, more or less focus on just your job and be successful and become kind of more introspective as a program. And I think it just speaks to who he is in growing the game and growing opportunity for young women to participate in the game, bringing awareness to it. And it's really a part of who he is. And, we're really fortunate to have Kelly at Wisconsin in the role he's in. And we're as excited to play a part in growing the game itself. I mean, I come from a family in which I've got 2 college volleyball players myself, and volleyball has been a big part of our life, of our home. I've seen firsthand, what it can do for someone and the opportunity it can provide. And makes me as or more excited to be part of it.
You're a pretty darn good football player, Chris. How are you on the volleyball court?
Horrendous.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I never played a sport in which I actually hit a ball or made contact with anything. So, when my girls want to pepper in the backyard, with the volleyball, it's a joke. I don't make it very long.
Seriously? Yeah. I figured as like a first-round NFL draft pick, hand-eye coordination might have been your thing. This is surprising to me.
These hands are not gentle hands. They're
That's
not
fair
trained
point.
to be gentle, and there's a lot of touch that goes into volleyball.
It's a fair point. Yeah, I guess hitting shoulder pads for all those years probably didn't help you in that regard. The big news this week, Mac, obviously the implementation of alcoholic beverages at Camp Randall and the Fieldhouse. You started that rollout last year at the Kohl Center, but now rolling it to pretty much every campus facility. I mean, this is an exciting announcement for a lot of fans. We've seen a lot of positive reaction.
It is, and I'm glad the reception has been positive. It's something that our fans have been asking for. Clearly, it's something that has grown momentum in the market at sports venues. It was really important for us last year that the launch of this in the Kohl Center in Laban was flawless, and we were really pleased with how it went, with how our fans reacted to it. There were learnings. And we took all of that experience and we applied it to our strategy at Camp Randall. And naturally now the focus for us is to make sure it goes flawlessly in Camp Randall, which I'm confident that it will be. But I'm happy for our fans. I think it's a great thing.
Is that a big thing that's happening around the country? Is that something you're seeing at other universities within the Big Ten and other big conferences?
Well, I think within the Big Ten, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are 2 other programs in football that hadn't yet. So I wouldn't exactly say we're early to the game there. It has allowed us to learn from other venues and colleagues around the league, and that's been really useful, really valuable. And that's one of the reasons why I feel confident that it'll go well in Camp Randall.
Fantastic. Chris McIntosh with us here at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis for Big Ten Football Media Days. Let's talk about the Kohl Center. Big news last week. Premium seating being implemented at the Kohl Center. What does the rollout of that look like, and what's the timeline on that project?
Yeah, that introduction of that new product began last week, and we began to gauge interest in it. There's a tremendous amount of interest in those seats. I think it's a new offering for our patrons in the Kohl Center across multiple sports. We've over the past few years made improvements to Camp Randall to kind of modernize the offering that our customers are asking for, and this is the next natural step in the Kohl Center.
Yeah, it seems like that's been a big part of your role as athletic director, is facility upgrades. Is that a fair analysis? I mean, it seems like there's been a lot of that happening since you've taken over.
I mean, I can see why you would say that. There have been a lot of capital projects underway for various reasons. The improvements that we are making within our venues that are more kind of fan centric. Are an effort to meet and exceed the expectations of our customers. That's such a crucial part of our competitive advantage, that those venues are full. It's imperative that we fill our venues to generate the financial support to provide opportunity for all 23 of our sports, and so it's very important. But at the same time, there has been an emphasis or a need to provide or to deliver on capital projects that are more student-athlete centric or supportive. And the indoor practice facility was one of those. The Kohl Center improvement was another. And those in and of themselves are incredibly large projects in scope and in cost. And that has been a priority of ours. And I would expect in the future, those will play a role in our ability to be successful. I'm really happy with where we are right now on those projects.
Really insightful answer. Appreciate that. Chris McIntosh with us here at Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis. Well, we're at football media days. We might as well talk about the sport that's near and dear to your heart, right? Luke Fickell entering year 2 here as the head coach at Wisconsin. I've heard him say many times today, none of you can define what success is. What do you make of that mindset? I think it's a really, really interesting one from the head coach.
Yeah, I think, when Luke and I first got to know each other throughout the process, and then when he came to Madison, and we got to work. The emphasis has been on one of the kind of core values that our program has always had, which is focus on those things that you can control. And I said it the day we announced that Luke would become the head coach. It's a day-to-day process, and the outcome of that process can lead to success, has the potential to lead to success, has the potential to lead to championship level, championship caliber play. And I'm really pleased with the progress that we've made now over the course of the last year and a half. I feel for our fans. I wish they had the same perspective or level of access that I do, because it has been a day-to-day thing. I was really pleased with how spring ball went. I think our program has gotten better. I think our program has gotten stronger. I'm excited for our team this year to go out in Camp Randall and show what they've been working on, the progress that they've made against some of the highest caliber teams in college football. That's an incredible opportunity, and I think it's one that our fans get excited about. And I think it's one that first and foremost our team gets excited about, and that makes me excited.
So I was going to ask Chris, and I am a believer there is such thing as a stupid question, so I might ask you one here. But obviously you're an alum of the program, but you're also the athletic director. So being a fan versus being athletic director, specifically of the football program, is that a tough balance, or is it kind of like a perfect mixture, being the AD, that you can be a fan of the football program?
Well, I might maybe word it a different way. I think
you can tell me it's a stupid question.
It's not a stupid question. I would if I thought that, but it's not. I think both of those care about the program, and I think that's where there's alignment. Both a fan and in the role I have, there's a love for our program. There's a desire for it to be the very best it could be, for it to reach its potential, and to kind of to dedicate ourselves to that, to visualize that. I don't think that those things are mutually exclusive. I think in the role that I'm in, it allows me the ability to influence that, and first and foremost, or most impactfully, through our head coach and a belief in what he brings to our program and the culture that he's trying to establish within our program. That makes me very excited, and it makes me excited in the role that I'm in. It makes me excited as someone who cares about the program. It makes me excited as a former player of the program, and the approach that Luke is taking is one in which there are no shortcuts, and it's an attempt to build a program that can have success year in and year out, sustain a Big Ten schedule, sustain the types of changes that we're talking about across the landscape. And it's not the first time that that's been done at Wisconsin, and Luke knows that, and he's a student of the game. He's a student of college football, obviously, and Big Ten football, and I think that's one of the things that drew him to Wisconsin.
Last thing for you, Chris, is the question everybody wants to know. On social media, Luke has tweeted out these quote-unquote bat signals, and Greg Gard has done, I know it's a thing with a lot of the programs when they land a recruit. You going to claim credit for that idea? That was your idea, right?
I mean, listen, our program is in huge trouble if we're relying on me for our social media strategies. But I would say we have very talented people whose job it is to think about ways to be effective on platforms like that, and I'm really confident in their ability to do so.
So it's you.
It is. I'm the furthest thing from that.
Amazing. Chris McIntosh, the University of Wisconsin Athletic Director, live from Indianapolis. Really appreciate the time, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
More coming up next on ESPN Madison, live from Big Ten Football Media Days.
That Wisconsin Athletic Director Chris McIntosh with me here on Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery. Before we get to our conversation with Badger safety Hunter Wohler and we wrap up the week, got to tell you about my friends at Door County Distillery. Locally produced, handcrafted, and award-winning spirits made in beautiful Door County. If you're heading up to Door County this weekend, going to be good weather. You got to stop in Carlsville. You've got to do the tour. You've got to do the tastings. They've also got exclusive products on site there in Carlsville at their location, Door County Distillery. Also right by Door County Coffee, Door County Candle Company. You can't go wrong by making a pit stop in Carlsville. But if you're not, you can bring Door County to you. Whether you're in Madison, you're in Milwaukee, all you got to do, pull up their website, doorcountydistillery.com. Find the retailer nearest you. Whether you need that glorious green bottle of gin, you'd love that big blue bottle of vodka, the cherry brandy made with local Door County cherries, or if you're like me and you're a whiskey person, the 27-time gold medal award-winning single malt whiskey. They've got a great bourbon. They've got a really good rye whiskey as well. Find it right by you. It's local. It's affordable. They do it better than everybody else. DoorCountyDistillery.com is the website. And while you're there, check out the huge list of unique cocktail recipes. That's at their website, DoorCountyDistillery.com. All right, let's get to conversation number 2 on this Friday edition of Mr. Relevant. Badger star safety Hunter Wohler throwing out the first pitch at AmFam Field tonight.
Stash is back. Badger safety Hunter Wohler joins me now at Lucas Oil Stadium. I feel like I've asked you more questions about your mustache than actual play on the field the last 3 years, Hunter, so I apologize, but you broke it back out for Big Ten Media Days. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, it's always out. It's always out. I think it might be for camp there might be a different look, so we'll see. I can't say too much on that, though.
Oh, okay, that's intriguing. Maybe I'll try to get more on that. But I will give you credit, though. It seems like the mustache is fuller than it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah,
so we're making progress.
We are. We're making progress. It's coming around. I gotta trim it up a little bit, but it's definitely working.
I'm happy for you, bro. That's great. So I was just checking in on you. I was talking to sources around the building today. Barefoot water skiing. Tell me about that, because that sounds terrifying.
Yeah, if you've never skied before, it definitely can be. But I grew up on the lake, grew up skiing. But yeah, going 42 miles an hour on your bare feet is usually a little bit intimidating for some people.
So I imagine you started water skiing at a young age.
Yes.
In the wonderful state of Wisconsin with the most lakes in the country. When did you decide, hey, we should just get rid of the skis, I can just do this thing? Like, how did that come about?
My parents. My parents were a part of a competitive ski team.
Oh, no kidding.
Before I was born, yeah. And then so when I was little, I was kind of a part of the team. I was too small and too young to really do anything, but I was around it. And then, growing up, just was always skiing. We lived on the lake for pretty much my whole life. Always been skiing. And then we were actually just talking about it this weekend because I was home. But I think the first time I barefooted, I was like 10, maybe.
Really?
Yeah. No, you don't got to be going 42 at 10 years.
No,
old,
yeah, that sounds dangerous. But so I'm curious, Hunter, and I'm sorry I'm stuck in this. We'll talk football at some point. But so is this something you still do like during the season? I imagine not, right? Like in case of injury, or are you not going to get injured because it's water? I'm so confused on how this works.
No, I definitely don't do it during the season. During the summer, I will a little bit.
Okay.
But I think it's one of those things where it's like I've been doing it for long enough that I'm not really concerned about injury because I know how to fall if that were to happen. Like I understand how it works. So I guess it doesn't worry me as much now. I could understand Coach Fick being a little nervous.
He's not listening, at least yet.
Yeah,
I know that.
so it's just one of those things that we don't necessarily need to talk about with him.
So let's talk a little football, because I think your journey at Wisconsin has been so fascinating, right? You were probably the most outspoken when the transition came to Luke Fickell as your head coach last year, or really about a year and a half ago now when he was named the head coach. You wanted to stay at Wisconsin. You wanted to be the leader of this defense, and ultimately you were. You led the team in tackles last year, and you led a really solid defense in year one under Tress and Fickell. What made you so passionate about staying in an era that it's pretty easy to leave if you want to?
I just think Wisconsin's special. I think it's not like many places in the country. I think the locker room has a lot to do with that. But it's a special place, and I grew up dreaming of going to Wisconsin, and so why would I leave it? And I knew that Coach Fickell was a good coach. I mean, just from kind of watching him from the outside, I knew that he had a great staff. So figured I'd give him a shot, and it's worked out. I think he's a great coach, and I trust in what he has planned for this season.
Year 1 to year 2, what's the comfortability difference when you get kind of a new system? I know everybody kind of runs the same thing in college football, right? But obviously when there's different coaches and there's different ideas being floated around, it's always a little bit different. So from year 1 to year 2, what's the comfortability difference for you?
Much, much, much more comfortable. Much more comfortable. It's just, and it's not like I was uncomfortable last year.
Right. Well, you were first team All Big Ten, so you did all right, yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's always, no matter what kind of change there is in coaching or anything like that, there's always going to be growing pains, and you got to take time to get comfortable and build that relationship. And so now coming into this year, like, we've got a full year under our belt, full season's done, and so now this year it's just playing. Like, we know what's expected. We had a great off season. Coach Fick he pushed us all off season long to just keep going, keep grinding, and so I think we're ready for the season once it gets here.
I talked to Jake Chaney about this a little bit earlier, but it is an interesting philosophy change when you go from a head coach who's offensive-minded to a head coach who's defensive-minded, like Fickle is. How much of a difference is that for you? Obviously, you had a great defensive coordinator when you had an offensive-minded head coach in Jimmy Leonhard, but I think to have the guy at the top being more of a defensive-minded guy and obviously played nose guard in his collegiate and NFL days, I imagine that's a little bit easier for you as a defensive player?
It's easier to an extent because Coach Fickle's a tough dude. So he's, with him being defensive-minded, he's going to be you're under a microscope all the time. But no, it is great having him be so defensive-minded just because you can bounce ideas off him real easily and you can go up to him with any questions. He's going to give you an answer. Like his door's always open and he just wants to see the team succeed. And he pushes us, which is great, which is what we need in order to get where we need to get this season.
Badger safety Hunter Wohler with me here at Big Ten Football Media Days in Indianapolis. I'm not going to ask you about college football 25, but before the game came out, they released the top 100 players in the game, at least in terms of rating. You and Rico, both in the defensive backfield, made that list. That had to be pretty special to know, hey, me and my guy in the defensive backfield are viewed as two of the best players in not only the Big Ten, not only the state, but the entire country. Like, that's got to be a pretty sweet feeling, right?
Yeah, it's a cool feeling. It's definitely a cool feeling. The other thing is it's also a video game.
It is.
So it's you wanna get to this season and prove it for real and hopefully prove that you deserve to be higher. But it is a cool feeling. Rico's a heck of a player. He deserves all the recognition that he gets because he's truly a stud and he makes a lot of game-changing plays.
It seems like in past years, defensive backs in the Big Ten overall have gone really high in the draft, right? We've seen a lot of guys from the Big Ten go in the first couple of rounds in the draft. And I mentioned you and Rico are viewed as two of the best defensive backs in the Big Ten. I don't want to look too far ahead after what's after Wisconsin, but I imagine knowing the shine that D-backs in the Big Ten are getting, and you got as a first-team selection last year, I imagine there's pro aspirations following Wisconsin.
Of course. I mean, that's playing college football. If you don't want to play at the next level, then you probably shouldn't be playing in the first place. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely excitement, but we got to take care of business during the season first in order to get to that point.
So you're a Wisconsin guy, so I'm sure you were familiar with Platteville prior to last year. But now this year you go back to Platteville for the first 2 weeks this year. It was 1 week last year, 2 weeks this year for Platteville fall camp. Is the 2 weeks thing, is that like exciting? Because I know it got rave reviews a year ago, but 2 weeks seems like a long time to be bunked down in a city you're not typically used to.
2 weeks is cool. I mean, I don't mind it too much. The food's good.
That's a big positive.
Big positive. The guys loved the food last year, but like during camp, you're doing football 24/7. Like you're with the guys 24/7 anyway, so it's really not that much different than being back in Madison. The only downfall of it, one of the only downfalls of it, is I miss my own bed.
I imagine.
I love, like, when we get back onto campus after that 2 weeks, when I lay in bed, it's going to be a beautiful thing.
Lights out, yeah, no doubt. So what is the bed situation? Are you like in dorms and twin mattresses?
Oh yeah, dorms, twin mattresses. You got a roommate, so I feel bad for the linemen because they definitely don't fit. Did
you live in the dorms your freshman year?
I did.
Okay, so you had that bed at one point. I imagine you don't miss it though.
I don't miss it. I I put a mattress topper on it, one of them little foam things.
That's a smart move. I did that as well.
And it was great. But I didn't hate being in the dorms. You don't get privacy, obviously, but I like being in the dorms. We had all the boys in one hallway and we were hanging out all the time, so it's a lot of fun.
Convenience is a nice thing. Hunter Wohler, the Badger Star safety, with us here at Big Ten Football Media Days. I heard a rumor about Friday, just a couple days from now, Hunter. I have the day off because I'm going to be tailgating at AmFam Field. I heard somebody's throwing out the first pitch on Friday. Is that true?
That's word around the street. Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Okay. Did you play baseball as a kid?
I did. I played a little bit. I played like first and second grade. Then I came back and played 6th through 8th. I was not a great baseball player.
Okay, so I imagine Friday there's going to be more, is there more nerves being at AmFam Field throwing out a first pitch as a quote-unquote not very good baseball player than there is on like a Saturday afternoon at the camp?
I don't know about more nerves, just a different type of nerves. But, yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see. I just got to hope I make it to the plate and I put it somewhere catchable.
As I mentioned, I'll be there. I'm going to have to clock it. Can you give me a speed prediction?
Oh, I'm not throwing it hard. If I throw it hard, I might throw my arm might fall off.
Yeah,
so
we don't want that.
No, we're gonna take it nice and easy.
I know you guys have a game by game mentality, right? When it comes to the season, you're looking forward to Week 1 more than any other game on in the season. But I imagine with this new look Big Ten and obviously that big Alabama matchup at the camp in September, you've got to be circling a couple, right? That Alabama game, that USC game. It's just different than anything you've experienced during your time at Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, I mean it's. Being able to play teams like that have been historically that good and typically at the top every single year, you always look forward to that. That's what playing college football is all about. And you love the competition and you want to play against the best. And it's a great chance to prove yourself and for the team to prove themselves and do that on a big stage. So yeah, I mean, yes, you look forward to those games, but got to take it week by week, otherwise it catches up on you real quick.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. Last thing for Hunter Wohler here at Big Ten Football Media Days. So I heard a rumor that there's a suit guy at Camp Randall that kind of gets you dressed for Big Ten Media Days. So you're wearing a great suit. You're the best dressed on your team. I'm going to give you the crown.
Thank you.
You've got like a light red blazer with some pink and gray accents throughout, a nice black and white tie, some gray pants. Did you pick this out yourself, or did the suit guy hook you up?
So I picked out the blazer. I picked out the blazer pattern.
Good pick.
And then he kind of helped me piece the rest of it together. But I saw this pattern. I figured it would look pretty cool.
Between you, Jack, and Jake, you think you did the best?
Yeah, of course.
My guy does not have confidence. Hunter Wohler, Badger Safety. Appreciate the time, brother.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, time to wrap up the week and the show, as we always do. Time now for What Strouf Learned. And I mentioned I was in Indiana Tuesday, Wednesday, and thanks again to Chris McIntosh and Hunter Wohler for jumping on with me. I'm fascinated by a stretch of highway in Indiana where it is nothing but windmills. You'll drive down this highway, all you will see is giant-ass white poles. And there's like 355 of them. It goes on for 45 minutes. It's absolutely absurd. So when I got done driving, I looked up Windmills, Indiana. That's all I Googled. And I found out about the Fowler Ridge Wind Farm, which has over 42,000 acres of land, 355 wind turbines, which is enough to power 122,000 homes for a year in Indiana. Pretty smart, pretty wild. All right, that's what I learned. Just figured you needed to know that. If that's the best thing you heard all week, I apologize in advance. Thanks again to Hunter Wohler. Thanks again to Hunter Vaughn. Thanks again to Chris McIntosh for joining me today on Mr. Relevant. I'm back with you Monday beginning at 12:30 on the ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee YouTube pages, the ESPN Madison Facebook page, and available wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the in-betweens. That'll do it for us. Have a great weekend. It's Mr. Relevant. I'm Alex Strouf. Peace.